3 weeks ago, a message arrived in my inbox that stopped me cold. It came from a married woman, and it read, "I have been married for 8 years. I have 2 beautiful children, and I just did something I never imagined I would do. The worst part is, I do not feel any regret." You know what is most unsettling about that message? It was not the only one. In my inbox right now, there are exactly 47 messages with practically identical stories. 47 women who crossed a line they never thought they would approach, let alone step over. And today, I am going to reveal the psychological secret that the marriage industry would prefer you never know. Because if this truth were to become widely understood, a staggering percentage of marriages could be on shaky ground starting tomorrow. Stay with me until the end, because I am going to show you the 3 precise signs that indicate a married woman is about to cross that line. And believe me, the third one will completely shock you. But first, I want to ask you a question that will probably make you uncomfortable. Have you ever wondered why, in certain contexts, many married women seem to flirt more than single women? No, it is not just your imagination. It is not a coincidence. There is a documented phenomenon that some psychologists describe as the paradox of compromised security. Let me explain it with a true story. I met Valentina during a photography course I was teaching. She was wearing her wedding ring prominently and talking about her husband every 10 minutes. At first glance, she seemed like the ideal wife, devoted, committed, and completely off limits. However, something did not quite add up. Every time I told a funny story, she was the one who laughed the most. Whenever we took a break, she found a way to end up in conversation with me. And in every single conversation, she found a way to mention how busy her husband was, how much he traveled, how little time they had together. In the third class, I understood something important. She was not talking about her marriage to brag about it or to establish her commitment. She was actually justifying why she needed attention from another source. Her words were a confession disguised as casual conversation, and that is the first piece of the puzzle. Here is the secret that almost no one tells you. A single woman protects her heart because she is emotionally available and vulnerable to being hurt. In contrast, a married woman feels that her heart is already committed, already protected by the vows she made. So she lets her guard down. She thinks she is safe. And it is precisely in that false sense of security that the unexpected happens. She thinks, "I am just being nice. After all, I am married. Nothing can happen." But that very idea, that sense of safety, is what ultimately makes her vulnerable, because when emotional defenses disappear, emotions find a way in uninvited. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that it is not what happens to us, but how we react to it that matters. And the reaction of lowering one's guard in the name of safety is exactly what opens the door to unintended consequences. Now comes the really important part. After analyzing hundreds of cases and reading thousands of messages from women in this exact situation, I discovered 3 psychological reasons why a married woman can fall more easily than a single woman. And the first one will completely change your understanding of relationships. Reason number 1 is invisible emotional hunger. Pay close attention, because this is the root of it all. When a woman is single and starts dating someone, that person is already special simply by being there. There is excitement, novelty, and uncertainty. Every interaction is charged with possibility. Every conversation feels meaningful. But after many years of marriage, something begins to change. The excitement fades. The novelty wears off. The uncertainty is replaced by predictability. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the relationship begins to shift from something that nourishes her soul to something that merely sustains her life. Let me tell you what Carolina, a 34-year-old woman who has been married for 9 years, confessed to me. "My husband is a good man. He works hard, comes home, has dinner, looks at his phone, and goes to sleep. He does not do anything wrong. But he also does not do anything to keep the relationship alive. It has been 4 years since he sincerely asked me how I feel. It has been 3 years since he stopped looking at me as if I was still an interesting woman. And 2 years ago, I stopped waiting for him to notice." Here, an uncomfortable truth emerges. Many married men make the exact same mistake. They believe that because they have already won over their partner, they no longer need to continue seducing her. They think the ring guarantees attention forever. They believe the vows are a one-time transaction that secures her love permanently, and that is precisely where they begin to lose everything. While they live comfortably within the routine, she begins to slowly die of emotional starvation. I am not talking about sexual hunger. That comes later. That is a symptom, not the cause. I am talking about the need to feel seen, heard, and desired as a woman, not just as a wife or mother. I am talking about the need to feel that she still matters as an individual, that her thoughts, her feelings, her dreams still hold value in someone's eyes. Then another person appears. He does not need to be especially attractive. He does not need to have money or status or a perfect body. He just needs to do one very simple thing. Give her his full attention. Ask her what she thinks. Remember what she said last week. Look her in the eyes while she speaks. And suddenly, boom! That woman who seemed completely protected behind her wedding ring feels alive again for the first time in many years. Her heart, which had been quietly starving, suddenly receives nourishment. And the relief she feels, the joy of being seen, is so powerful that it overrides every rational thought in her head. She does not stop to think about the consequences. She simply leans into the feeling. The philosopher Seneca wrote that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. But in this case, the reality of her emotional starvation is more painful than any imagined consequence of stepping out of line. And that is what makes her so vulnerable. The Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus taught that we should not use our words to command, but to persuade and to teach. And the man who persuades her through his presence, through his attention, through his willingness to see her, has a power he may not even realize he possesses. That brings us to the second reason, and this one is even more powerful. It is the fantasy of the man who truly understands her. Every married woman holds on to an idealized version of the man her husband once was. At the beginning of the relationship, he was attentive, curious, and romantic. He asked her questions. He listened to her answers. He made her feel like she was the most interesting person in the world. But as time passed, that version began to fade. The attention became routine. The curiosity became assumption. The romance became obligation. And this is where the real danger lies. When another man displays precisely those qualities she misses, the brain does something automatic. It begins to project onto him the lost version of her own husband. She is not really seeing the other man completely. She is seeing what she once saw in her husband, but in his best version, without the history, without the disappointments, without the accumulated weight of years of routine. He becomes a canvas onto which she projects her unmet hopes and desires. Let me tell you about Daniela. She was 36 years old, a successful businesswoman, and married to an engineer. On paper, her marriage seemed perfect. They had a beautiful home, 2 children, and a comfortable life. Until she met Javier at the gym. Javier was not more attractive than her husband. He did not earn more money. He did not have a more impressive title. However, Javier always asked her how her day had been. He recommended interesting books and articles. He remembered her personal goals and asked about them. He treated her like an individual, not just someone's wife or someone's mother. Daniela confessed something to me that I will never forget. At first, I thought it was just a friendship. But one day, I realized I looked forward to my conversations with Javier more than any conversation with my husband. And the worst part is, I did not feel guilty. I felt understood. Do you see what happened? Javier never won her over using special techniques or manipulation. He did not use pickup lines or psychological tricks. He won her over by being what her husband had stopped being, an emotional presence, someone who was fully there with her in the moment. And therein lies the real trap. Because when a woman develops a deep emotional connection with someone who is not her husband, the line between right and wrong begins to blur. She starts telling herself that it is just friendship, that she is just being nice, that nothing inappropriate is happening. But the emotional bond is already forming, and once it forms, it becomes nearly impossible to break. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. And when her thoughts are colored by this new connection, her soul begins to shift toward it, even when she is telling herself it means nothing. But wait, because the third reason is the most controversial of all. And if you are a married woman watching this video, you will probably feel like I am describing exactly what is going through your mind. Reason number 3 is the unconscious permission of martyrdom. This is the darkest part, and also the one that almost no one dares to mention. Many married women live with an internal narrative that goes something like this. I have sacrificed everything for my family. I left my dreams behind. My body changed. My career was put on hold. I have given and given and given. They consciously believe that this sacrifice is noble, that it is what a good wife and mother does. But unconsciously, this narrative grants them psychological permission. Permission to feel that they also deserve something just for themselves, something that is not for the children, or for the house, or for the husband, something that is exclusively theirs. The martyrdom becomes a currency she uses to buy herself a license to stray. The narrative runs deep. I have been so good for so long. I have followed every rule. I have given up so much. I deserve to feel alive again, even if just for a moment. Listen to what Andrea, a 41-year-old mother of 3, wrote to me. For 12 years, I was the perfect wife. I quit my job to raise my children. I gained 33 pounds. My husband travels constantly for work while I hold the entire house together alone. One day, I met someone who made me feel beautiful again. And you know what my first thought was? I thought I deserved it. After everything I have given, I deserve to feel that way again, even if just for a moment. This is what many therapists call retroactive justification. She never planned to be unfaithful. She did not wake up one day and decide to betray her vows. But when the opportunity arose, her mind had already constructed a complete explanation for why it would be acceptable, why it would be okay, why she felt she had earned it. The justification happens after the desire has already taken root. Her brain, which is a master of rationalization, builds a case to support what her heart already wants. And here is the most disturbing detail. The better wife she believes she was, the more powerful that internal justification becomes. It is as if her brain is saying, I have done everything right. I followed every rule. I have been perfect. And yet, I feel empty. So maybe the rules never worked. Maybe I can break them. Maybe I have earned the right. The Stoic philosopher Zeno of Citium taught that the goal of life is to live in agreement with nature. But here, the woman's nature is warring with her vows. Her natural desire to be seen, to be valued, to feel alive, is in direct conflict with the social contract she entered into. And when that conflict is unresolved for too long, something has to give. The philosopher Cleanthes, who succeeded Zeno, wrote that the fates guide the willing, but drag the unwilling. A woman who is willing to recognize her own emotional hunger may be guided toward healing. A woman who is unwilling to confront it may be dragged into infidelity before she even knows what is happening. Now, after hearing all this, you are probably wondering, how can I recognize when a married woman is going through that vulnerable moment? How can I tell if she is just being friendly or if she is actually opening a door that should remain closed? Here are 3 signs that almost never fail. Sign number 1. She starts sharing very personal frustrations about her marriage, even if she disguises them with humor. She will say things like, my husband is a mess, ha ha ha, but I love him. That laughter is just a mask. The frustration is real. When a married woman starts to vent to you about her relationship, even lightly, she is opening an emotional door. It is as if she is saying, there are cracks here, and you can see them. I am letting you in. I am showing you a part of my life that I do not show everyone. The philosopher Epictetus wrote that we should not let our fears stop us from doing what is right. But in this moment, her fear of judgment is being outweighed by her need to be heard. She is willing to risk exposure because the emotional release feels worth it. And the man who listens, who does not judge, who simply offers a compassionate ear, becomes the recipient of her emotional confession. Sign number 2. She constantly looks for reasons to interact with you. Messages without a clear reason, questions that Google could easily answer, casual invitations that seem innocent. Hey, I am going to stop by that coffee shop you recommended. Want to join me? It might seem spontaneous, but it is not. She is creating spaces to connect with you outside of her busy life. She is engineering encounters that allow for private conversation, for shared moments, for the possibility of something more. She is not trying to be deceptive. She is following an instinct she may not even fully understand. The philosopher Hierocles wrote that we should approach others as we would approach ourselves, with patience and understanding. And the married woman approaching you is approaching with patience, but she may not be approaching with understanding of her own motives. She thinks she just wants a friend. She thinks she just wants someone to talk to. But her actions are speaking louder than her conscious thoughts, and if you are paying attention, you can see the pattern. And the third sign, the most revealing of all, she starts confiding things in you that she does not even tell her husband. When she says, "I have not told anyone this, not even him." At that moment, you stopped being just an acquaintance. You became her emotional refuge. You became the keeper of her secrets. And secret refuges have a powerful hold on the human heart. The more she shares with you, the more she trusts you. The more she trusts you, the more she feels connected to you. And the more connected she feels, the more likely she is to cross the line. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote that we must understand what pulls the strings of another's mind. And when a married woman pulls you into her emotional world, she is pulling the strings of her own heart. She is creating a bond that may be stronger than she realizes. She is building a bridge that may take her somewhere she never intended to go. But here is the part that the marriage industry does not want you to know. These signs are not about you. They are about her. They are about the emptiness she feels, the hunger she cannot name, the loneliness she carries beneath the surface. You did not create that emptiness. You did not cause her loneliness. You are simply the person who happened to be there when she decided she could no longer bear it alone. And that is a heavy burden to carry. The Stoic philosopher Seneca observed that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And when a woman wastes her emotional energy on a fantasy rather than addressing the reality of her marriage, she is wasting years of potential connection with the man she vowed to love. The philosopher Musonius Rufus wrote that we should not use our words to command, but to persuade and to teach. And perhaps the most persuasive teaching is the example of a man who remains steady, who does not exploit her vulnerability, who sees her pain without using it for his own benefit. So what do you do when you recognize these signs? What do you do when a married woman is clearly opening a door that should remain closed? The answer is simpler than you think, but harder to execute. You do not exploit the opportunity. You do not play into her fantasy. You do not become the man she projects onto you. Instead, you remain grounded. You remain steady. You remain a man of integrity. You do not lead her into a place she will later regret. You do not become the reason her marriage falls apart. The philosopher Epictetus taught that no man is free who is not master of himself. And the man who masters himself, who controls his own desires and impulses, is free to make choices that protect his dignity and hers. The philosopher Zeno taught that the goal of life is to live in agreement with nature. And it is human nature to seek connection, but it is also human nature to seek meaning and purpose. A man who connects with a married woman for the right reasons, who offers her friendship without expecting more, who sees her as a person rather than an opportunity, is living in agreement with his own highest nature. If you are the man she confides in, you have a choice to make. You can be the one who validates her fantasy, or you can be the one who gently reminds her of what she is risking. You can be the one who encourages her to seek counseling, to talk to her husband, to address the emptiness in her marriage directly. You can be the one who helps her find the courage to be honest with herself and with her partner. That is the harder path. It is the path that requires maturity, discipline, and a genuine care for her well-being beyond your own desires. But it is also the path that leads to the most good. The philosopher Cleanthes wrote that the fates guide the willing, but drag the unwilling. A man who is willing to be a positive influence, who is willing to be a true friend rather than a tempter, is guided toward a life of integrity and peace. A man who is unwilling, who follows his desires rather than his principles, is dragged into complication and regret. The message that started this whole conversation, the one from the married woman who said she did not feel regret, is not just a story. It is a warning. It is a window into the quiet desperation that exists in so many marriages. The spark that fades. The attention that disappears. The feeling of being seen as a function rather than as a person. These are the conditions that create vulnerability. These are the conditions that make a woman look outside her marriage for what she is missing inside it. And the sad truth is that most of the time, the other man is not the solution. He is just a distraction. He is just a temporary fix that ultimately leaves her more broken than before. The philosopher Seneca wrote that we should not let our fears stop us from doing what is right. And the right thing for her is to confront the reality of her marriage, to have the difficult conversations, to seek the help she needs. The right thing for him is to be a true friend, to support her growth, and to respect the boundaries she has temporarily forgotten. If this video resonated with you, if you recognized yourself or someone you know in these stories, do not just let the information sit there. Use it. Let it be a catalyst for reflection and action. If you are married, let it be a reminder to nurture your relationship, to pay attention to your partner, to never stop seeing her as the woman you fell in love with. If you are single, let it be a guide to the kind of man you want to be, a man of integrity, a man who respects boundaries, a man who values real connection over fleeting temptation. The philosopher Epictetus taught that no great thing is created suddenly. And the kind of marriage that endures, the kind of love that lasts, is no exception. It is built through the accumulation of small moments, each one building on the last. Each time you choose to see her, you build that love. Each time you choose to listen, you build that love. Each time you choose to nurture rather than neglect, you build that love. And as you build it, it becomes part of who you are. If this video helped you in one way or another, please consider supporting the channel using the Super Thanks feature. Your support means a lot, and it helps us keep creating better content specially for you. Every contribution goes directly into improving the quality of these videos and bringing you more of the Stoic wisdom and psychological insights that you have come to expect. Thank you for being part of this journey. Stay grounded, stay present, and I will see you right here in the next one.